You know what Sony ponies frolicking. We are frolicking through the grass. All you Xbox know that you're mad 'cause Stalker too fast. Day one on Game Pass just don't work. 'Cause you people really know you're hurt, unlike Sony. When we eating water and no carrots, and the remakes that Sony has created. Xbox is dead. Phil Spencer should be in jail. I gave you 2 days so Dreamcast he can change, but he's doing it again. All this so he can't pay his rent. And the girlfriend he got living with him, this is ridiculous. I'm telling all you people now, this ain't how the Xbox community's going out. I can see it now. Oh, what's this? The Pony Palooza. Oh no, Stalker 2 failed. Game Pass Day 1 Ultimate. Oh no. Oh, it's all done. Oh. We got these ponies when they frolicking, and they do this to their kids. Eating old kerosene, drinking old water that Sony's create for them. 'Cause you know that these people ain't got no friends. They still talk about Game Pass Ultimate like they have it. But you people are inhabited. I finally see these ponies on National Geographic.
Talking about the next big Xbox game, because
And the first thing you people wanted to do was hate on it. Oh wow, you get to play Stalker to Game Pass Ultimate. What seems to be the problem now here, Pony?
Came out today. The reviews came out today, and they're bad. In fact, the word unplayable is being thrown around a lot.
Oh really? Because a lot of people could say that about Concord. How about that Until Dawn remake? I'm hearing that the PSSR, we're going to just combine 2 videos into one. How come you're not talking about how the performance of the PSSR is making games run worse? No different than the PS4 Pro. Games still want another W. I told you guys. For some reason, you people don't want to listen, man, which also therefore means that the PS5 Pro should be irrelevant. No wonder people didn't pick up one. You even got scalpers taking losses. Sony out here scammed everybody. All right. You guys want to talk so poorly about this game Stalker 2, but guess what? You didn't even have to pay for it. Because if it was Sony, you would have went out there and spent your hard-earned $70, and guess what? You still would have got a game just as broken as Stalker 2, apparently. Unbelievable what you ponies think of.
Apparently, it's glitchy, it's busted, the frame rate doesn't work.
What game don't have glitches? What game don't have these issues? If we're going to be nitpicky, a lot of games are like that. That's why we have this whole preview program stuff that Microsoft and Sony like to do. It's crazy. Now I haven't had the opportunity of playing the game for myself, so I can't really speak highly of it, but it was a game that I was looking forward to playing. But to say that because a new game dropped on Game Pass Ultimate that people should more likely not play it is ridiculous. People should play it. See for themselves if they like it. See if they don't care too much for the glitches and bugs that the game has. Because let's be honest, you ponies picked up Until Dawn Remake, and we still failed to see you people talk about it.
Crashes constantly.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the performance issues with all those PSSR games. The things that you guys were saying that Sony was pushing this new AI upscaling technology. Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about how PS5 Pro games are running worse than when the games was on the base PS5. Y'all don't want to talk about these things. You just want to talk about Xbox. It's like you guys do this to take all the excitement out of what's going on within the Xbox community. Okay, and the game has bugs and issues. The game is provided through Game Pass Ultimate. You're not obligated to have to buy the game, unlike Sony. I'm not justifying. If the game is really like that, that's fine. But there's people in this comment section calling cap for it. I'm sorry, guys. If you notice, I haven't really been making videos and responding to that many comments because I've just been busy as of lately. You know, grown individuals, that's what we do. You know, we get busy in our day-to-day lives. You know, we don't have time to argue and complain about what's good and what's not. We just personally don't care.
It's bad. But let's talk.
Can't be any worse than Concord. I can tell you that much, Jimmy.
Stalker 2 is a very unique style of game, and I think that the fan base is so dedicated, some low scores aren't really going to scare them off.
Oh, here we go. Now we're going to use low scores to justify as to why. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of my favorite games have 4 out of 10s. I guess you guys could say I have an acquired taste of games, or maybe I just understand how games work. Just because if you're basing this off the game having a low review score, that doesn't mean people cannot have enjoyment for the game. Like, you get what I'm saying? There's too much people. You guys talk about, oh, I don't like the Game Awards. I don't like gaming journalism. But then you guys go as far to bring up gaming journalism in regards to review scores. That is the hypocrisy. Like, if you don't trust them with the Game Awards, then why do you guys trust them in regards to the reviews that they're creating for y'all in the community? You can't even trust user scores anymore because you got fanboys just saying the most irrelevant stuff about the game just so they can bash it without even playing it for themselves. This is the gaming community in a nutshell. It's a bunch of grown men acting like a bunch of children.
I'm still curious about it, so let's discuss. I hope you're happy.
You're curious about it, but yeah, let's see if you actually play the game.
This, and then there's Indiana Jones.
Okay.
But this is one that I think looked good because it's incredibly brutal. So, the Stalker series is all about people going into this, like, completely irradiated wasteland with paranormal monsters and weird ghouls and goblins and stuff like that, and it's rough. It's supposed to be an incredibly rough game. One of my old roommates actually is extremely obsessed with the series because of the insane, brutal difficulty, something where you're constantly dealing with radiation and mutants and thirst meters.
And that's why your opponents probably don't like it. You know, you're used to, you know, playing these games where you're holding, you know, Ellie's hand while you're grabbing up a staircase. You know, you're not used to playing games that actually are difficult. You know, the old-fashioned games that you probably should have grown up on. You know, that's the type of games that Stalker is. You know, it's like a Metro, but it's like a hardcore Metro. It's you know what I mean? It's not like this casual stuff. I mean, you have Rev even talking about, I don't like it because it ain't, you know, it ain't Call of Duty and I don't have enough ammunition. Well, it wasn't based off, it was based off another game we played that was similar to this. Like, that's the problem. The reason why this game is probably getting poor scores is because the game is probably too challenging for a lot of these reviewers to play. I'm gonna be honest. Now, I don't know about the bugs and issues, but there's been a lot of bugs and issues in games, and that has never stayed in the forefront for a lot of other reviews. Okay? Like I said, a lot of people will bash a game or give a low rating score for a game if they more likely can't play it. Because I'm gonna be honest, I like Superman 64. I actually know how to play the game. I know it sounds crazy. Well, it's the poorest rated N64 title. How could you like a game like that? I don't know. Maybe because it was easy for me to get through the rings. You know, I understand that the game can be difficult and it, like, you start off at certain checkpoints for losing. But I know how to get through it. Which therefore means that I would rate the game an 8 out of 10. What? It's the poorest rate? I don't understand. How could you? Because I know how to play it. And I actually do enjoy the gameplay. It's just very mechanical. See, the problem is with you people, you have an issue with mechanical games. These are the same people that say Virtual Fighter's clunky because of the mechanics. It's not as simple as just hitting a few buttons like Dead or Alive and think you're getting all this. You actually gotta work it. You got to work for that type of fluidity. And that's something that's missing on a lot of games. Like Call of Duty, for like the movement options, yes, they improved it, but it lacks the standard mechanical features that people missed in the previous titles. That's why a lot of people complain about Black Ops 6. Because it kind of takes away that skill gap. It adds another, because it is different and you have the 8-directional movement, but then it also takes another element. You know, now there's certain games that just completely remove the whole element and you are left with essentially nothing. Just a shallow game with no real mechanics.
Limited ammo. But I think a lot of people are shocked to see that
I'm shocked!
It's getting a 74 on Metacritic, but a lot of websites are saying, we straight up can't review it. So over here on Blue Sky, I've seen multiple reviewers and stuff saying the game is unplayable. It uses the endearing phrase is that even the previous Stalker games, even with tons of patches and updates and polish and stuff, they always had quite a few glitches and errors. And
yeah, that's something that's it's no different than the Bethesda games. So when you guys use that argument, when Starfield had issues, well, Bethesda games have had more issues on PlayStation consoles, and you guys still play Skyrim on PS3, even though that game was virtually unplayable. Okay? Like, I'm not justifying bugs and glitches, guys, but there's just some games that you're kind of more prone to getting when you pick up. It's fine. I understand that. You know what I mean? But the gaming community want to act oblivious to this. Now all of a sudden, Bethesda games got to be pitch perfect, no bugs and no issues. Same thing with a Stalker. And you know what's even more funny? A lot of these are PC-developed games, and they have issues. There you go.
Funkiness to them, right? But that's almost kind of endearing. Having enemies that fall through the ground or guns that jam when they're not supposed to be able to jam, that's kind of just sort of the vibe of the games. It takes place in a desolate, irradiated wasteland, so sometimes that weirdness, it almost feels like people call it multi-dimensional jank. The universe is busted.
And that's another thing, too, problem with gaming. You don't think we had games like this back in the days, guys? We used to laugh at it. You know, now I'm not getting, there's some game-breaking bugs that can ruin the experience. I get that. That can ruin the immersion. But like I said, man, we used to laugh at this stuff. Oh, look at that, the car, floating up in the air, Like, we used to laugh. Nowadays, you guys, I gotta chart off a few points. The game is not perfect. The game is not made to be intended the way it thought it was, which also eliminates the creativity. Because some people back then would take these glitches and take these things and create, speed runs and do all these other crazy things with it. If you notice, no game is perfect. I thought Mario 64 was not a broken game until you see a speedrunner beating the game in 1 hour and 30 minutes. And I'm like, whoa, he broke the game. It's that type of creativity that's missing in a lot of these games, and a lot of it has to do with bugs and glitches.
The games are kind of busted, but this does feel like
every game's busted.
Isn't
the problem with gaming is that they want to make games perfect. See, this is what sucks about gaming, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. And this is why I like old gaming, because yes, old gaming was broken too, but there was skill behind that brokenness. Okay, the problem is, now I don't know about this game because I haven't played it. There's no probably skill involved. Well, I'll just say modern games in there. There's no skill involved in a lot of the bugs and glitches that you guys do. It's like when IGN did the Doom speedrun and how the guy beat it in 16 minutes. Y'all like, oh, okay, he just went through one area and ran the whole map. Like, that wasn't skill. But to pull off those things you see in Mario 64, the glitches, to get through the walls, that takes skills, bro. It's not as simple as you being able to do it, bro. It really do take skills. That's the difference right there, is the fact that those elements took skill for people to do. Now you fast forward to 2024, a lot of the bugs, and because these games are more cinematic, which also shows you that that's what kind of ruins the immersion for a lot of these games.
Be in a playable state for quite a while. Just today, so while the reviewers were playing it, they had 5 separate patches. They kept trying to fix the game even during the course of the review period, and even today, they released another 130 gig patch the day the game came out. And people are like, bro, the game is just not in good shape. All right, here's our Stalker 2 review.
There goes your physical media, guys.
Rodriguez, even beyond its bugs and performance problems that are being fixed on the day, it stretches a 12-hour game into a 40 to 100-hour one without doing much to fill the extra.
That's another problem. I'm sick and tired of these long games. I'm not saying it for Stalker, guys. I'm just speaking in general. I'm tired of games being long. Okay? Like, I would prefer, this is how I see it. I have no problem with long games, but long games should be for RPGs. Okay? I'm tired of, not saying this game, guys, when I bring these points. I'm tired of these action shooters, these cinematic games from Sony being over 30, 40, 50 hours long. That's why the gameplay gets boring every time you play it, because the gameplay doesn't warrant that amount of hours. I would prefer a shorter game that's actually replayable. See, you people don't understand. Old games was good back then because the games was replayable. A lot of them were short, guys, if you remember, but they were replayable. Do you guys know how many times I went through House of the Dead 3 just so I can beat the game under 20 minutes? I went through the game hundreds of times. That's over 100 hours. I spend more time playing a 1 hour game. But if they think about it, but if they made House of the Dead for 12 hours, the game probably will get boring eventually. Which would also mean that I would never be able to go through all the best set pieces of the game. That's why games is memorable, because the games we played was good from start to finish. A lot of these games don't warrant I'm not saying this game in particular, I'm just saying in general, don't warrant the hours that we have in our games. Okay? And that's a huge issue, in my personal opinion.
For space.
Replayability over length any day.
A big mechanic of this is all about the raw survival instinct. People are going into this terrible, desolate place to try and find different artifacts.
No, y'all been going into this desolate place playing the game like Call of Duty and you're complaining. That's what's going on here. Oh, I made a mistake. That leads to this mistake. Now I don't got ammo to get the other guy. You guys are just hating the game because you can't play it. Let's be honest.
The fact that this game is busted and visually so painful to the eyes, even if you are dedicated to it, that sounds so incredibly frustrating. Here's Jordan Miller of VGC.
140 gigabyte pack. I don't even think I have storage for that. I'll have to delete. I don't know. I'll have to skip on it. Luckily, I'm doing stuff right now. But yeah, whenever they guess they fix the game, I'll probably more likely play it. But wow. You know what I'm saying? And you guys want to still have the false ideology of physical media.
God. This is one I've seen people sharing around, even on Blue Sky. People are saying, wow, it got a 2 out of 5. My God. That's a
Xbox is dead! Xbox!
VGC is unable to verify that the litany of issues experienced in the versions of the game
Xbox!
VN journalists are saying, I loved Stalker. I grew up playing Stalker. It's a refreshing and brutal game.
All these games had issues, bro. All these Stalker games have had issues. Now, I'm not, like I said, damage control. Like I said, this is just something that a lot of people should have expected, you know? Like I said, bro, but what about Until Dawn Remake? You know, you made one video touching up on that, and let's talk about that. Those PSSR games that are running way worse than they are on base PS5, but yet you guys say the Pro was a huge improvement over the PS5. You guys are all you guys is doing is capping. Now, I had no problem with him talking about the reviews, but to sit there and say Xbox fail, really? Xbox don't even create this game, bro. They provided it for their consumers day one through Game Pass Ultimate, but they did not create this game. It's just like, it's weird, bro. It's like y'all do the same. Oh, well, Kojima, he bought himself out. You guys come with all these false narratives. But when for Xbox, but y'all don't act like, bro, when you put in Death Stranding on Xbox, it says Sony Interactive Entertainment. That's the funny part. You guys say, oh, Sony has no involved. Then why does it say Sony Interactive Entertainment? Why does it say that? That should be completely removed. It should say Kojima Productions and that's it. It says Sony Interactive Entertainment. Oh, Sony had no involvement. And you know, yeah, go ahead with the excuses. But Death Stranding 2 is exclusive to the PS5. Well, console exclusive. So if Sony has no involvement, then why is Death Stranding 2 not dropping on Xbox day and date with the PS5 release? Because if he bought himself out of the contract, that also would mean that he'd be able to make it for the Xbox day and date for both platforms. You see? The problem is, Sony invested money into this game, and they put in it as multiplat. And that's what Sony's doing best. Multiplat. The full slate, baby.
It's a masterclass in atmosphere. It's also the worst technical issues I've seen, and I'm still in the process of reviewing it. It is wild that this game has so much work, so much love, so much passion poured into it, and came out in such a busted state. But, I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. I feel like fans are still going to play it, fans are still going to have a blast, but if you're a casual, if you're a person that's just cruising...
You hear that? If you're just a casual that exactly. If you're going in there with the mindset of Call of Duty, you're not going to like this game. There you go. You just proved to all the people that watched this video that you didn't like the game because you can't play it.
You're hoping for a cool, mind-blowing experience. Yeah, I would definitely skip this one. But that's just
Xbox is dead. Xbox fail. Like, how is it a fail, bro? They put a third-party game through their subscription service. How is that a fail for them? If anything, people should commend Microsoft for letting them have the option of playing it for the and that was it $20 a month through Game Pass Ultimate, and don't have to buy it now. Like how we, like I'm saying, like I'm not justifying if the game's really broken. I'm not justifying. I'm just saying people can play it, they can try it out, and if they don't like it, they can still go back to Black Ops 6, where it's easy for them. I thought this was like Call of Duty. What's this? I don't like it. I gotta save ammunition. I actually gotta use my brain for once. Is that what y'all doing? Because I kind of already knew that. And like you said, people that normally know that about Stalker games are gonna enjoy the game anyway. They like that jank. They like that. That's what gives the game the appeal. The realism, the thinking, the tactics. That's what makes people like Stalker. It's a very different type of game. You don't see these type of games very often, especially on console. But like I said, man, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I gave this pony 2 days so he could change his act. And yet, he's still at it again. Take care, guys. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Peace out.